what are your top two or three tips that, I mean, a lot of us know, keep your balances down. There's a certain percentage that you should keep your balance on a revolving account. But like you said, the debt category, that was what you're talking about. That's going to be a car payment or or versus a revolving account. So it's going to be a loan versus a revolving account. That's the category we're talking about there, right? And so it is true that these I've always heard that it's really the revolving, it's just really that utilization. So if people drift up and they got $1,000 limit and they owe 900 or God forbid 1,100, like they allowed them to go over, that's where the scores start to dip, right, Sean?
Absolutely. And so that category, that debt category, is heavily influenced by revolving debt or credit cards. Yes, other types of debt are calculated into that category, but the reality is I can have millions of dollars of auto loan debt and mortgage and student loan debt on my credit report and still have a very, very high credit score. But if I have, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revolving credit, I'm going to have a lower score. And so that category is heavily influenced by revolving credit. What I've found by looking at, thousands of credit reports is that the best place to be with your revolving credit is below 10% utilization.
Okay.
A lot of people throw around the number of 30%. And yeah, 30% is a great goal, but
better than
20%,
50, better than 60.
That's right.
But,
yeah.
Right.
But 10% is really, really
Ideal.
the sweet spot is between 1% and 6%, but it's,
Right.
it's a lot easier.
Other than those,
10%.
what are your top, what do you say, for our listeners out there? Let's get into the nitty gritty. Like, I get a lot of people approach me, in my DMs, questions on YouTube, questions on Instagram, Facebook, hey, I've done this. I don't know what to do. What would I do? Like, how do I get my scores up? And, what are the top tips you think to help raise a score? We talked a little bit about, obviously getting your balances down, but some of these people have already maybe paid a collection and they didn't negotiate a deletion letter. We can talk about that, but like, what are some things that people could do to help, raise their credit score and build solid credit?
Yeah. So, and I teach a class called 7 Steps to a 750 plus credit score. But my number one thing is looking at your credit. Okay. So you got to have credit monitoring, and a lot of us get a credit score from our credit card, but we need to understand that that's just one bureau, right? And so we need to be looking at all three. So, we need to look at our credit report. Second thing we need to do is we need to dispute those derogatories. Whether you do that on your own or hire a company like ours. The Fair Credit Reporting Act says that what's on your credit report must be accurate. It must be verifiable by the furnisher, the company that provided that. It can't be misleading. It must be complete, so it can't have missing data, and it has to be timely. So, definitely challenge those derogatories. I would say the third thing is understanding how the credit scores are calculated. And, we kind of just quickly went through that. That 35% payment history, that's the biggest, impact to your credit. So obviously, got to pay those accounts on time, never be 30 days late. Mix of credit is very important. What I've found is that a good mix of credit is at least 3 credit cards and at least one installment loan. A lot of people out there who've had their credit, they've made some mistakes or they had some life events happen to them. They've kind of checked out of credit. And so they end up having what you'd consider a thin credit file, like not very many accounts. And the problem with that is a derogatory event is going to just nail them so much harder than somebody that has a lot of account variety.
Right.
So I would say that, you definitely want at least 3 credit cards, at least 1 installment loan, but a minimum of 5 open accounts on your credit report.
And I think that's huge because I think you're right. So what I see a lot of our clients that, just like you said, they had student loans that they maybe even paid late, they defaulted on, maybe they had a divorce, They did a collection. Now they're in a place in life where they're like, how bad did I shoot myself in the foot? I want to do better now, but they don't know what to do. And so what I hear you saying is, number one, make sure you have 3 credit, because some people just like say, well, no, I'm not going to do with credit cards anymore.
Right.
They don't know what, and they don't know how to utilize them. So get some credit cards, get 3 at least, have maybe an installment loan, but then keep those balances at 10% or less.